Guys, we have breaking news coming out in the Summer Wells case, and it is a long time coming. Law enforcement saying that Summer Wells case is far from cold. These are the statements that we want to hear from law enforcement in the case of Summer Wells. These were the adults with Summer Wells at the time of her disappearance, and her disappearance has sparked national and worldwide outrage because many people believe that these three people know something. Are we getting somewhere in the Summer Wells case? I have no earthly idea. All I know is I believe Grandis, Candace, and Don Wells know exactly what happened and exactly where Summer Wells is. There is no news organization or content creator that has more content on the Summer Wells case than I possess, Bullhorn Betty. Hey guys, I'm Bullhorn Betty, and we have been covering the case of Summer Wells since about 5 months after the case started. So this child disappeared June 15th, 2021. And what a case it has been. We have been involved in this case for years. I've made multiple tours out to this location, and I have searched over 4 months out in the wilderness. The new information leads law enforcement to Greene County, Tennessee, and it sounds like the lead holds water. We don't know what it is, but we're praying that this case comes to an end. Summer Wells is found and can be laid to rest. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Bullhorn Betty channel. God bless. Talk. I hope you guys are doing well. This is my first time back covering this case on this platform in a significant amount of time. So, folks, we are getting some positive news coming out about Summer Wells. I'm Bullhorn Betty. I cover true crime. I've been covering Summer Wells exclusively for about 4 years now, and I have probably the largest curation of interviews that we've created because I was out there every month for almost a year in 2022 into 2023. So there's a lot of stuff, and I was just going on my YT channel showing some of the interviews with Allie, Hunter's mother. If you guys know or have been following this case, Hunter's mother lost her life. So the information from Hunter's mother, what we have is the last statements we're really going to have on record for her. And those were after Chris McDonough's statements. I believe he did go out there for another interview with Allie after our interview, our big interview. But I have spoken with her several times on the phone as well. And so we've been really trying to follow this case and find out where Summer Wells is. In my opinion, these three people, this is Grandis, this is Don Wells, this is Candace Bly. These are Summer Wells' mother and Candace and Grandis, because Candace, they have the same name. And Candace's older daughter has the same name as her as well. So we have Candace, and another Candace in this family. Candace Bly does not have any of her children that she's ever given birth to. All the children that woman has given birth to have been removed from whatever state she lived in, and she has never been able to have custody of any of her children. I think this set of kids with Summer's brother was the longest she's ever been able to possess children in her custody out of all the kids that she's ever given birth to. So just a real piece of work for a mother. We've got a curation of all of her mug shots from every single state, along with Don Wells. Again, a large platform of information. But the great news is Summer Wells is now no longer a cold case. We don't know what they're finding out there. But TBI made a very positive statement in the Summer Wells case saying that this is far from a cold case on the record. On the record, TBI said this is far from a cold case. That means that this case has just gotten a lot of steam. We do not know what the lead was or what law enforcement found, but whatever they found was enough to say, on the record, this case is far from being cold. Directly from TBI spokesperson themselves. So lots of stuff going on right now. This case has now left has now left Rogersville and has crept its way into Greenville. This is about 9.5 miles away from her home. That would be in the radius, the statistical radius for home violence, which would be anywhere 10 to 20 miles away from her home, 9.5 miles away. They have said some things. They're off the 3500 block of Van Hill Road in Greenville, and this is where they were on November 13th. They will not provide us any information, and the TBI as well as the FBI is working alongside Hawkins County Sheriff's Office. But again, they are stating that this case is remaining active and ongoing, and that this case is far from cold. Those are things we would like to hear. We would have loved to hear those things, a couple years ago, but we're going to take a win if we get a win here. What's darkness comes to light, justice for summer. Absolutely feisty. So please be on the lookout here, guys, because we are working the case of Summer Wells. We have breaking news right now. The breaking news in this case is that there has been an uptick. There has been something that came in on a tip line. Some tip, we don't know what it is, came out in the tip line, and it brought law enforcement to the 3500 block of Van Hill Road. This is in Greenville, which is Greene County. It's a county over from Hawkins County. It's only 9.5 miles away from Summer Wells' home. It is in the statistical radius. We have a statistical radius for cases like this in rural communities being 10 to 20 miles out. This is in that first round of 10 miles because it's 9.5 miles away from this child's home. And again, it is enough for law enforcement to seem very positive, making statements such as this case is active and ongoing, and referring to this case as being anything but cold for a factual statement. Anything but cold. This seems to be very, very interesting for me because this case has not gotten a lot of attention. There has been multiple spot searches for this child, and I know that from Hawkins County, TBI, and some private citizens as well that have never let this case go. I was out there for an entire year. I've got probably a total of 4 months under my belt in being out in the hollers and the mountains searching for this child. And it is a lot of work. It is a huge area, and it feels like such a daunting task. We went out there for years and came up empty-handed. And so now 9.8 miles away from Summer's home on Ben Hill Road. Believe it or not, when we did the 1-year milestone event at Hawkins County Sheriff, a few of my mods rented a house, and the house was 3 minutes away from this very location. You want to talk about eerie? That's pretty stinking eerie for me and my my moderators. But we did that. We were planning on doing something for her 5 years, and hopefully by 5 years, I pray to God we're bringing her home. I pray to God that we are bringing her home at the 5-year mark. I'd like to see the people responsible for this in jail. And, you know, we're going back to and reviewed some of Allie's statements when my very first trip to Hawkins County. And we learned from Allie, Hunter's mother, that Hunter was never the same again after this day, after June 15th at that water hole. We also learned at that time that Grandis and Candace were pill shopping, and the pharmaceuticals were being picked up at the pharmacy, and that they were most likely getting blitzed out of their mind. And we know that Hunter had twisted teas and some Mary Jane. So it sounded like everybody was partying out at that water hole until they realized Summer Wells was missing. And they realized Hunter, as he walked out to the water and started screaming in the water, Summer, where are you? And he describes on Chris McDonough's interview as reaching down in the water and pulling her out and patting her or smacking her on the back. So it sounds like she may have very well have succumbed to whatever happened out there on her way home. But whatever it was, it seemed like it was pretty traumatic, to where Allie said her son was never the same again. And Candace, when she was going out there with Chris McDonough, she talks about how everything was just slowed down. And if everything was just slowed down, that does indicate a traumatic event, you know, in somebody, the way that they're explaining it. It seems very traumatic, more so than just talking about, because she was very hesitant almost to go back and go toward that water. And that should have been a very good clue that something happened there. But couple whatever happened there with the fact that Allie said her son was never the same again, I think we can conclude, and the way Candace was acting with Chris McDonough when they went out to the watering hole, I believe something happened out there. You know, everybody speculated wildly that this child was SA'd, and that may have been what happened when she went home, and, you know, whatever. And I think that's one of the reasons why they didn't take her to the hospital when she needed to go to the hospital from whatever happened out there. I don't think we'll ever really know, even if they do find Summer Wells, unless she has physical signs of injury like gunshot wounds, or, you know, they can see chips in the bones from maybe stab, you know, sharp blade, metal blade object. They can kind of make heads or tails that this is the way, you know, they lost their life. But typically when your years passed and you find basically a bag of bones, so to speak, it makes it very difficult to determine the cause and manner of death. And even if they do find Summer, will they be able to determine the cause and manner of death at this point? And I'm not sure if that's the case. But I find it ironic because somebody in my YT channel told me, listen to this. This is a kicker. That where they were searching at was near a tree trimming company. Remember how Dawn Wells kept pushing the tree trimmer aspect? It almost leads me to believe, if she is in this area, that Dawn Wells put her in this area and tried to point law enforcement to the direction of a tree trimmer, to try to blame a tree trimmer, a local tree trimmer, for it. But again, that's speculative. It's too soon to make those speculative statements because we don't know if they found her or some items. But whatever is going on this Van whatever road, it seems very promising in law enforcement world, enough for a TBI off this Van Hill Road, enough for a TBI spokesperson to say that this case is far from cold. It was in a news article, in quotes, far from cold, far from cold. That's telling me that this isn't just a little bit of heat or a little bit of smoke, that we've got a little brush fire brouhaha in here, okay? And I think this brush fire might be heating up really big. I think we might have ourselves an inferno soon. We hope. We want to bring this child home. So guys, this is positive stuff. This is probably the most excitement we've had in this case in years. Okay, I'm really, really, really praying, and we all, I don't know, I know not everybody's religious on this platform, but I know everybody has some type of spirituality. Whatever you guys believe, start getting to those good vibe places, okay? All of us. Whatever the good vibe is, whether it's a God, whether it's a tree, whether it's a, here and a there, whatever the case may be, let's put some good juju out there in our universes, okay? Let's, however we put our own juju, manifestation and stuff like that out there in the good old, world. Let's start putting some of those vibes out there. All of us has our ability to put some good vibes out there. We need to be putting some good vibes out for this beautiful little girl. Look at that beautiful face. Many of us, I don't think there's a whole lot of us that ever believed she was alive. I can tell you from since I took a hold of this case, I've always believed this young little beautiful baby has been an angel, okay? I have been trying to bring her home so she can be put to rest, okay? Not be thrown away like garbage. I've never believed she's alive, ever. I've never believed it, okay? I know I fought a lot of people, the selling and all this. I get a lot of people, they want to believe that the child is alive, and so they go to, a bad spot, but a bad spot that has a live child, okay? We follow evidence. The evidence did not lead us to believe that this child was, handed off to somebody else. Everything that we saw led us to believe that this child is deceased, okay? And everything in this, and the statements and the behaviors of the parents led us to believe that they knew where she may have been. Okay, because of their behavior, their actions, things that they did, it led me to believe that they had more information about what happened to Summer Wells than what they were telling the public. And I have maintained that for all of these years. Everything that I've researched and looked in, not one thing has changed my opinion of that. So I'm always looking to challenge my opinion. I'm always looking to, find my opinion to be inaccurate. So I'm always looking to find myself inaccurate. That's what I think makes our research so good, is because we're always trying to prove our own selves wrong. And when you do it that way, you're always hitting the right answers, even when you're trying to prove it to be the opposite. And so in this particular matter, I've never believed Summer Wells was alive. I've always believed that her mother knew more. I never really, I've always bounced back and forth between whether I thought it was an intentional injury or an accident. And, I've always, I think, catered to the accident aspect of this case, because I truly believe something tragic happened at the water hole. And the reason, right now, if I were to come if I wouldn't have been involved in this case way back when and got all of those interviews way back when, I might believe that this child was AR'd by her father and lost her life by her father. Okay, that's truly, with the details that people are passing around today, I would most likely, probably in this day and age, gravitate toward that. But because I was involved in this case 6 months after this case happened, and I was down there getting interviews from everybody involved, and we were just popping up, like we went to the hippie house, we followed their whole entire everything. We talked to so many people. We've got so many people on the records under interviews that, oh, thank you, shake my head. There we go. Hi. Thank you for that. That I had to go back to that place, and I remember the feeling back then. I had to go back and review a few things, and everybody back then when we got involved was really focused on this water hole. And then I remember watching Chris McDonough's interview with Candace and watching her behavior as they went back to that water hole, and it just had a lot of indications that something tragic happened or traumatic happened there. And then you couple that with all the statements Allie said about her son Hunter, about him never being the same again. And he's been around this family a lot of times. We believe that him and Candace did inappropriate things together that are highly illegal. adults aren't supposed to do with children. We believe that those things were happening as well. So it's like, you know, so he's been around this woman but never came back in this stage before this particular day, and it just so happens to coincide when a child disappeared for forever. So that tells me, you know, that we might need to really focus on this water hole aspect of it, because I think that really holds the keys to a lot of why we're here. It will explain why Don was home. Don was out with his children. He had the boys with him at work. Obviously, the boys were home when Candace allegedly went back home. We saw the photo of Summer Wells on all of that milk, and it looked like she was already deceased. It sounds like, you know, she was on the phone with Don, and they were making some plans as well, even to the point of where he was saying there was some creep searching around, you know, fiddling with kids around the mountain, you know, just so happens that day. It was all, in my opinion, a setup, because there was just too many people. Had it been any other property besides the top of a mountain, they would have probably been able to get away with the abduction theory. But you can't even drive a car up their driveway unless it has a V8, okay? Like, that's how steep that mountain is. There's no good way to get off that mountain, and the only other path off that mountain that somebody could sneak by would have been having to go right by Candace and Grandis in the trailer. There's no way some person's going to snatch a child and run right past mommy and grandma, not knowing if they're going to pop their head out of the camper. There's no blessed way. Okay? It doesn't make sense. It defies logic. Okay? It defies logical reasoning. So clearly there wasn't a third party on that mountain abducting a child. We only have 3 adults. So there's your key right there. And this child and evidence or something has brought TBI 9.5 miles away from her home. So anyways, guys, we have breaking news, welcoming breaking news. Let's pray, let's manifest, let's do whatever good juju we here on TikTok do. And let's get our hands all over this, and let's just pray whoever you pray to, that this case is hopefully getting closed soon. So guys, great news. I'm thankful that we're here. I'm thankful that we're updated. I'll start going back through some of my curated content on Summer Wells. I know we've got interviews with the remember the guy that worked at the morgue, or the whatever. We got his daughter on thing. I've got interviews with their digital guy. I can't even remember their names anymore. We have so many interviews and so much search and so much content that it's literally terabytes. So I'll have to go through it and start putting it together. I was working on the documentary, but it's hard because, you know, I was in the process of breaking up, you know, in a horrible separation with, you know, people that are in the documentary, and then now I'm over it. So, you know, I think I can do the documentary without being a complete utter basket case. So hopefully we'll get the documentary rolling out. I got portions of it. You can go back through my content on here. I did put my intro into the documentary I'm doing. It's going to be an awesome documentary, by the way, and I'm not tooting my own horn to say that. It's just going to be a very well orchestrated and well thought out documentary. Like I said, I was there for an entire year in Tennessee. And that was all sponsored by, actually, I think we sponsored that all 100% here on TikTok. I think, actually, as a matter of fact, I think TikTok sponsored like 99.9% of the trips for Summer Wells. I think YouTube, somebody that was in Reverend Donna Sephora's chat, I think she donated one trip out here, but I think it was TikTok. Actually, I think it was you guys that sponsored all the content, to be honest with you. That sponsored all the many trips. The many trips for Summer Wells. I really do. I think However, her 1-year milestone was sponsored by my audience on YouTube. So, but this was sponsored, but I think that the trips that I'm talking about outside of the 2 that were sponsored by MGL, I think you guys sponsored the majority of our trips for Summer Wells. So congratulations to you guys. But I'll go through the content and start dropping some new content on here for you guys with whatever I can. Anyways, we'll talk soon. You guys rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to go ahead and tune in. If you guys are watching me for the first time, I'm Bullhorn Betty. I cover true crime. I'm going to be dropping a lot of my own content down here. This is my personal searches for these victims. If you guys don't know me, I haven't been really out boots on the ground in the last couple years, but prior to me kind of being grounded at home, I have, I was out there doing these stories right from their homes. We were competing with Fox News, CNN, News Nation, and we were working side by side with them out there in the field. And we're going to get back to doing that because that's where you guys like to be. You guys don't like second-handed stuff. You guys like being at the front row, and that's where we like to take you. So stay right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. So we'll see you guys soon. And let's just pray that we get some resolution on Summer Wells and the guilty people that did what they did to her go to jail and go to jail for forever. We never want to see them or in our sphere again. We want them to make sure that they're gone. So put them behind bars. Let's throw away the key. All right, guys. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.